as now we're looking at the live pictures of what's going on in Holmby Hills at this mansion right here, all connected to Sean Combs.
Cassie and her lawyer put out a statement. They said we will always support law enforcement when it seeks to prosecute those that have violated the law.
I don't know if Diddy's getting arrested, but while his home is getting raided and his kids are getting arrested, his private jet landed in the Caribbean.
There's a dramatic new update on the ongoing FBI investigation against Diddy, and now Cassie is speaking out on Diddy's 2 houses getting raided and reports that the feds are building a massive case against him. As you probably heard by now, Homeland Security carried out coordinated raids on Diddy's 2 properties, one in LA and the other in Miami, and they have now confirmed that the raids were carried out in relation to an ongoing trafficking investigation. Between November 2023 and February 2024, 5 separate lawsuits were filed against Diddy, all alleging disturbing federal crimes. The latest lawsuit filed by Rodney Jones went a step further, claiming that Diddy has been running a RICO enterprise, and Jones also named multiple individuals who allegedly enabled Diddy's actions. But let's not forget that it was Cassie who opened the floodgates, and we're now hearing that it was her lawsuit that prompted the Fed to launch an investigation. Some people initially accused Cassie of settling too soon with Diddy, but it turns out she knew what she was doing all along. Diddy apparently offered Cassie to settle before she filed her lawsuit. However, Cassie refused, and her legal team went through with the lawsuit built around federal crimes. This, of course, raised all kinds of alarms, and it looks like the government has been on Diddy's case this whole time, because the feds don't generally come out like this with a whole SWAT team until and unless they have ample evidence to support the effort. The fact they got approval to raid 2 of his homes on both coasts means they already have a whole lot of probable cause of crimes being committed. Also, it's worth pointing out that it wasn't the FBI or DEA that raided Diddy's properties. It was Homeland Security.
Clear, Anderson, from the moment that we first saw those SWAT vehicles roll up to those homes, as well as mobile command posts, all of those vehicles emblazoned with the letters HSI, that was an indication for those in law enforcement that we're likely talking about sex trafficking, because HSI itself is the primary investigative arm of the Department of Homeland Security. They deal with transnational criminal groups, but they also have a robust effort underway to go after human traffickers. That involves 2 prongs, not only to rescue victims of human trafficking, but also to locate and prosecute those who may be behind the trafficking itself.
Now, there are some reports circulating online that Diddy has already left the country as one of his private jets was tracked down on the Caribbean island of Antigua. However, TMZ obtained this video of Diddy nervously pacing outside a Miami airport hours after the raids were carried out. It's still not entirely clear where Diddy is and if he actually tried to leave the U.S. There's a lot of new information coming in as we speak, including reports about Cassie cooperating with the feds. Cassie has now released an official statement through her lawyers addressing the raids on Diddy's properties. And in the meantime, there are also some new updates on Diddy's alleged accomplices, declaring they are ready to testify against him. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's dive in.
This afternoon, and a neighbor tells me that about 30 to 40 law enforcement officers showed up to the house out here and carried out this search warrant. Again, Anderson, late word tonight from a law enforcement source who tells my colleague Josh Campbell that these search warrants that were executed is in connection with a trafficking investigation.
The day of reckoning has finally come for Sean Diddy Combs, and the fact that it all went down on March 25th, the 27th anniversary of Biggie's Life After Death album, is some real poetic justice. So on Monday, March 25th, news broke that the Department of Homeland Security was carrying out coordinated raids on Diddy's 2 homes in Miami and LA. NBC News and local stations in Los Angeles and Miami were the first sources reporting on the events unfolding at Diddy's properties, and aerial footage showed dozens of heavily armed agents descending on Diddy's house.
Big-time superstar, and now the feds at his houses in both locations. This is a live look right now. On the left, that's West Coast, that's LA. On the right, that's Miami Beach you're looking at. I want to show you in just the last couple of minutes in LA, agents holding what look to be guns as they walk into the home, as they enter the home, and you can see some of the apparatus there that they've brought.
Aerial footage of the raid at Diddy's LA home also showed his 2 sons, Justin and Christian Combs, being led out of the house and handcuffed, while several other individuals also appeared to be detained while the raid was being carried out.
Law enforcement vehicles, at least. There are 3 Bearcats on scene here. This just all unfolded, Sandra, I would say, less than 10 minutes ago. We got here even before the crime scene tape came up. So we're just down the hill. If you look up the street where Tony is right now to the right, you'll see one of those Bearcats and law enforcement.
What is this, Jesse? Because these are new pictures.
So if that
are
is,
these the there's
that
people
could
in
be his
handcuffs
sons.
now.
That could be his sons. That could be his sons. Again, if that is accurate, I wouldn't be surprised because the allegations put forward in that lawsuit implicated his sons in different criminal activities.
So these are aerial photos from our helicopter in Los Angeles. It's zoomed in now. This is brand new. And there are, let's see, can we count? It's small. A couple of people in handcuffs, a couple of people on the ground. Looks like two boys in handcuffs there facing the bush.
Later that day, Homeland Security Investigations released a statement about the raids, saying, earlier today, Homeland Security Investigations, HSI New York, executed law enforcement actions as part of an ongoing investigation with assistance from HSI Los Angeles, HSI Miami, and our local law enforcement partners. And shortly after, law enforcement sources confirmed to CNN that this ongoing investigation is connected to those disturbing allegations against Diddy outlined in several civil lawsuits that have been filed against him since November.
Well, Anderson, a law enforcement source tells my colleague, Josh Campbell, that these search warrant activities at both of Combs' homes are related to an ongoing trafficking investigation. However, the source would not say whether Combs is the target of this investigation, citing the sensitivity of the investigation itself.
According to the reporters on the ground, federal agents were seen carrying out boxes and bags of presumed evidence from Diddy's home.
With property, and late tonight we saw agents walking out of this house carrying a cardboard box as well as several bags from the second story of the property out here. Now, agents in Los Angeles could be seen walking around Combs' house there. They were processing the scene there and could be seen taking notes on a table there. Now, an official with Homeland Security here in Miami tells me that the raid that took place here happened a little bit after 3 o'clock this afternoon. And a neighbor tells me that about 30 to 40 law enforcement officers showed up to the house out here and carried out this search warrant.
But here's an intriguing part. Despite all the evidence the feds reportedly collected, Media Takeout reported that the agents were not able to access surveillance footage from the dozens of security cameras around the property. According to one insider, this is because the security cameras feed all the footage to a secure storage facility not located at either property. And the footage is not stored on drives, it's located in the cloud so that no one can steal it or take it or hack it. Insiders who spoke to Media Takeout said that federal agents were frustrated with the complex surveillance system that was installed in both of Diddy's residences. If they want the footage, they have to either get Diddy's access codes or get a warrant to the security company, one insider said, also adding that the storage facility is located overseas and possibly outside of the jurisdiction of the United States. And now the big question, where was Diddy when the feds were raiding his houses and handcuffing his sons? Did he run and leave his sons and the entire team to deal with this mess alone? Well, you can already guess the answer. Diddy has always been about Diddy first and foremost, and word on the street is that he was tipped off about the raids and tried to make a run for it. In the hours after the raids, multiple sources reported that one of Diddy's private jets landed on the Caribbean island of Antigua. According to People, Diddy's plane landed in Antigua on Monday after departing from the Van Nuys airport in LA. And of course, this led to speculation that Diddy was trying to follow in Russell Simmons' footsteps and flee to a country that doesn't have an extradition treaty with the United States. However, TMZ then dropped this bombshell showing Diddy pacing outside a Miami airport shortly after his homes were raided. So according to TMZ, the footage was filmed outside the customs office at the Miami Opa-locka Executive Airport, and eyewitnesses said Diddy and some other people got stopped by the feds. One eyewitness told TMZ that Diddy was waiting on other people in his party here, who were stopped and questioned by the feds as well during this whole ordeal. However, TMZ wasn't able to confirm the identity of people accompanying Diddy. It's also not clear at this point whether the feds stopped Diddy from leaving the country or if he was just stopped for a check before boarding. Now, Diddy is still not under arrest at this point, so we can't really say whether he's on the run or not. However, this is an active investigation, and the authorities have already arrested some individuals associated with Diddy. One of them is Brandon Paul, Diddy's alleged drug mule, who was arrested shortly after the feds stopped Diddy at the Miami airport. According to the affidavit obtained by TMZ, 25-year-old Brendan Paul was booked on 2 separate substance charges. By the way, Paul was named in Rodney Lil Rod Jones's explosive lawsuit against Diddy, and Lil Rod also submitted photos of Paul with Diddy at his residence. In his lawsuit, Lil Rod alleged that Brandon Paul worked under the orders of Diddy's chief of staff, Christina Coram, who he claims was instrumental in organizing and executing the RICO enterprise. By the way, Christina Cora deleted her Instagram account just hours after news broke that Diddy's houses were raided. Lil Rod also goes on to describe Brandon Paul as Mr. Combs Mooley, claiming that he acquires and distributes Mr. Combs's drugs and guns. And in one of the footnotes, Lil Rod describes how employees of the yacht Diddy, rented in the U.S. Virgin Islands, personally witnessed Christina Coram instruct her staff, Brendan Paul, Frankie Santella, and Moy Bon, to spike bottles of champagne with ecstasy. So, as you can see, the whole thing is starting to unravel, and all these people who allegedly enabled Diddy's crimes for years are going down one by one. And we can safely assume they won't have a problem snitching on Diddy if they are faced with serious prison sentences. In fact, the former CEO of Motown Records Ethiopia, Habtemariam, who was named in Lil Rod's lawsuit as one of the defendants, has already confirmed that she's willing to testify. The same day Diddy's houses were raided, Lil Rod submitted an amended lawsuit, adding Cuba Gooding Har as one of the defendants, and he also submitted a declaration by Ethiopia Habtemariam saying she's willing to testify. And in exchange for her declaration, Ethiopia has now been removed from the list of defendants. So in other words, you've got someone who was employed by Diddy declaring in court she's willing to testify, and that's a pretty big deal. We can most likely expect that other individuals who were named in various lawsuits against Diddy will follow suit and agree to cooperate with the feds. But there's someone else who will no doubt play an important role once all this goes to trial, and that's Cassie, the woman who lit a match with her bombshell lawsuit back in November and started the snowball effect to bring down Diddy. And let's not forget how Diddy tried to paint Cassie as a liar and a gold digger before he quickly settled that lawsuit. See, on the same day Cassie filed her lawsuit, Diddy's lawyer Benjamin Brafman issued a statement saying, "Mr. Combs vehemently denies these offensive and outrageous allegations." Brafman also accused Cassie of persistently trying to blackmail Diddy and claimed that Diddy repeatedly rejected her requests for a payout. However, less than 24 hours later, Brafman released a new statement announcing that Diddy agreed to settle with Cassie for an undisclosed amount. But hold up, let's unpack this for a second. One day you're flat out denying any sort of wrongdoing and accusing Cassie of blackmail, and the next day you're suddenly reaching for your wallet? And what's up with not even trying to defend yourself against those serious accusations? I mean, if Cassie was just out for a quick payday, why didn't Diddy fire back with a countersuit and take her to court to prove his innocence? It's kind of bizarre, right? Especially when you're facing allegations as grave as those described in Cassie's lawsuit. You'd think, especially as a public figure, that clearing your name would be a top priority, considering how damaging those claims could be to your reputation. So naturally, people were raising eyebrows at this whole situation, thinking that if Diddy settled with Cassie just 24 hours after labeling her a liar, it could only mean one thing. She was telling the truth, and he wanted to put a lid on it to stop other allegations being revealed to the public. But Diddy's plan didn't work because Cassie's brave move encouraged others to come forward, and since then, 4 more lawsuits have been filed against Diddy, each one alleging depraved crimes. Just a few days after Cassie's lawsuit made headlines, the legal drama surrounding Diddy started heating up as 2 more lawsuits accusing him of similar crimes were filed in New York Superior Court. One of these suits was brought forward by a woman named Joey Dickerson Neal, while the other was filed by an anonymous plaintiff. In her civil lawsuit, Dickerson Neal asked for a trial by jury and made shocking allegations dating back to 1991. She claimed that during a dinner date, Diddy allegedly slipped something into her drink without her knowledge. He then reportedly put her in his car and drove to his residence where he allegedly R-worded her. Adding Dickerson Neal, Diddy recorded the entire attack and later shared the video with members of his inner circle. Dickerson Neal also stated that she immediately filed police reports in both New York and New Jersey. She also claimed to have reached out to several prosecutors in hopes of pursuing criminal charges. However, she alleges that she was met with a disappointing response, as authorities reportedly informed her that her allegations needed corroborating evidence. By the way, there's growing speculation circulating within the public sphere suggesting that Diddy might have had influential connections within law enforcement circles, and these alleged ties could have played a role in Diddy's ability to evade criminal prosecution all these years. But in the wake of Dickerson Neal's lawsuit, another individual has stepped forward with serious accusations against Diddy. This lawsuit implicated both Diddy and singer-songwriter Aaron Hall in allegations of R-word. According to the details outlined in the lawsuit, Diddy and Aaron Hall are accused of subjecting Jane Doe to harrowing acts, allegedly taking turns R-wording her. Additionally, Jane Doe alleged that in the aftermath of the attack, Diddy paid a visit to her residence to threaten her to stay silent, and he also allegedly got physical and started choking Jane Doe until she lost consciousness. Now, fast forward just a few weeks after this lawsuit was filed, and in December of 2023, yet another unnamed plaintiff filed a fourth lawsuit against Diddy. The woman alleged some extremely disturbing conduct involving both Diddy and former Bad Boy president Harve Pierre that took place when she was 17. According to the plaintiff's claims, Diddy and Harve Pierre provided her with substances before transporting her via private jet from Detroit to New York. It is alleged that upon arrival in New York, she was subjected to an attack at Diddy's recording studio. The lawsuit went into extremely disturbing and triggering details, and once this made headlines, Diddy broke his silence, proclaiming his innocence and promising he would fight to clear his name. "Enough is enough," Diddy wrote. "For the last couple of weeks, I have sat silently and watched people try to assassinate my character, destroy my reputation and my legacy. Sickening allegations have been made against me by individuals looking for a quick payday. Let me be absolutely clear, I did not do any of the awful things being alleged. I will fight for my name, my family, and for the truth." However, on February 26, 2024, Diddy was hit with yet another lawsuit, this time from a male producer, Rodney Lil Rod Jones, who worked on Diddy's Love album. And Jones's lawsuit was something else because it basically alleged that Diddy is Jeffrey Epstein of the hip-hop world. In fact, Lil Rod explicitly states in his lawsuit that Diddy's chief of staff, Christina Coram, is the Ghislaine Maxwell to Sean Combs' Jeffrey Epstein. And to really drive his point home, Lil Rod included side-by-side photos of Diddy with Christina Coram and Ghislaine with Epstein. And then later on in the lawsuit, Lil Rod alleged that Diddy, Christina Coram, and several of their employees all engaged in the same activities as Mr. Epstein and Ms. Maxwell, and that some of them may have even done worse. Now, the reason Lil Rod's lawsuit exploded the way it did in the online world is because he filed it under the RICO Act and not only accused Diddy of orchestrating a RICO enterprise, but also implicated several other prominent individuals from the entertainment industry. Besides the defendants, Lil Rod also threw some big names into the mix in his lawsuit, including Cuba Gooding Jr., Meek Mill, Chris Brown, Usher, Young Miami, and Stevie J. According to Lil Rod, these people were all supposedly in on these freak-off parties hosted by Diddy, where drinks were allegedly spiked and served to young people who were brought there to entertain Diddy's high-profile guests. In fact, after Diddy's houses were raided, his next-door neighbor went viral after telling the reporters that he saw Diddy bringing young people to his house on huge buses in the middle of the night. The man alleged that Diddy was doing something sketchy, and he even said he was scared to knock on Diddy's door when his basketball accidentally went on his property.
Yeah, tell him stop bringing all the minors over here late at night. I live right next to him. He do too much. It'd be like buses, like big buses. You just see all type of pop out. Especially at nighttime, like around 3 o'clock in the morning. It gets wild. I'm his neighbor. When my basketball go over there, I just let it be because I don't want to knock on the door.
But again, none of this would have played out the way it did if it wasn't for Cassie. Sure, Diddy would have gone down sooner or later because everything you do eventually catches up to you. However, Cassie gave courage to all these other alleged victims to speak out. But it looks like Cassie's job is still not done, and word on the street is that she's been actively cooperating with the authorities and providing them with vital information that could potentially lead to Diddy's arrest. In fact, after news broke about Diddy's houses getting raided, Cassie broke her silence via her lawyer and said she'll do whatever it takes to help bring justice to those who committed depraved crimes. Lawyer Douglas Wigdor, who represents both Cassie and the Jane Doe who filed a lawsuit against Diddy in December, issued a statement to Good Morning America saying, "We will always support law enforcement when it seeks to prosecute those that have violated the law. Hopefully, this is the beginning of a process that will hold Mr. Combs responsible for his depraved conduct." As for fans, they're giving Cassie her flowers for opening the floodgates and setting this whole thing into motion. One fan said, "A reminder that I'm so proud of Cassie for her bravery. None of this would have been possible if Cassie didn't take the position of being on the front lines. It only takes one person for the domino effect to take over." And another person added, "And she was attacked and vilified for it, especially once the settlement was announced, even though it was clear even then that she had opened the floodgates for investigations and provided courage for others to speak up." But what's your take on this whole Diddy situation? Where do you think it's headed from here? And if he's found guilty of all these serious allegations, what sort of consequences do you think he should face? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and stay tuned for more updates on this unfolding story.